Hello, Princeps, and welcome to the inaugural Reactor Chat. I'm Johnny,
I'm Alex.
and we are occasionally going to be reacting to some of the movements in the Titanicus community.
I
So,
mean, that kind of depends
ish.
on them releasing content, right? But
You should be expecting episodes, like 4 times a year, if we're lucky?
I mean, that would be amazing if it was 4 times a year. I think we had 2 releases last year.
Yep.
But yeah, we just wanted to kind of bring essentially like a bit of a mini pod, whereby we react to some of the new releases and stuff, do a bit of speculation, that kind of thing,
Mm,
based on things that have been hinted at, or is currently out there in the ether that we're waiting for news on. So if you watch this video in 6 months' time, then it'll probably be horrendously out of date, and you'll be thinking like, "What the hell were those guys talking about?" But
yeah. We're going to have some takes in this episode that may not age well, depending on how how much foreshadowing
yeah,
we can give. Yeah. Well, I see you've brought a presentation.
I have brought a presentation to this one. I have my laser pen with me as
Mhm.
well. I'm not wearing my usual suit, but you can
No.
consider yourself to be the board of directors that I'm giving this presentation on, ladies and gentlemen. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is, let's be honest, this isn't the podcast, so we're not going to do kind of like the usual sort of podcasty things. But there's always going to be a few things that we want to kind of slip in a like timely manner, which we don't normally get to kind of do between podcasts, because you've probably realised that the podcast on a good kind of week when life isn't kicking us in the arse, we get out about once a month. So if there's anything kind of like moving and shaking sort of between, then we'll obviously jump in and let you guys know. So there's like a few little mini announcements, I guess, that we just wanted to bring to your attention before we kind of get into the reason why we're kind of um, doing this today. And that reason really is conversion beamers. That was the big news, which was hinted at 2 days ago, I think.
About that, yeah.
We'll see how quickly we can get this out. But yeah. So that's essentially what we're going to be talking about today. But
Mm.
before we do, we've been very lucky to join forces with Laserforge Miniatures. He does a load of acrylic laser engraving, and he's always done kind of like in the past a template set for specifically for Adeptus Titanicus, where you can have all of your you can have your Legio engraved on the template. So you could have like a Legio Gryphonicus themed in a, it could be yellow or it could be grey, and it had the Legio Gryphonicus emblem on it, or the Furian's eye or something like that. He's always done those, but we've joined forces with him to be able to bring the first in our line of Maximal merch, which I'm going to start calling it.
Yeah.
So you can now get,
Very inventive.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
nice one, mate.
a bit of
Very proud
a
of you.
bit of alliteration there as well. I
Yeah.
quite like that. But yeah, if you can now get Maximal Fire themed templates, so they are in sort of nice day glow orange with the Maximal Fire logo in the middle of it, and it comes in the standard 3-inch, 5-inch, and the Firestorm template. So it looks really really cool. They're also available for a discount over the normal Legio specific stuff. So you can pick them up slightly cheaper. I think it's around about £18 for the set, where it's normally about £20 the set with if you want the Legios. And also, if you're a patron of ours, you get 10% off that as well. So it works out just over 16 quid, I believe, if the maths works out. So good news for patrons, and you can get access to that 10% from the £1 backing of our Patreon, which is awesome. It's nice to be able to kind of like do some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's very surreal, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. And the
Mm.
other thing that I just wanted to mention is we hinted at it in the podcast, didn't we? But I don't think I was quite ready to talk about it then. I was a bit cagey about the subject of something that I wanted to reveal.
Mm.
But we dropped on Instagram and Facebook and Discord the other day that we're holding a writing competition. So what we're asking for is for our if you want to get involved and you want the chance to win £50 worth of Games Workshop vouchers and £30 worth of Battle Bling vouchers, or local equivalent, then you need to draft us a background lore story entry for the Legio Maximal. So this is going to be kind of like our house Legio. We want people to write in and design us some fluff. So where did we come
Mm.
from? What's a Legio Maximal all about? And we've already had quite a few entries actually, and they've been really fun to read. But if you do want to get involved, that's going to run until the end of April, and then we're going to sit down with some judges and work out which one we're going to give the prize to. So if you're a budding writer, or if you want kind of to, or if you just like, you just want to get involved and sort of have a bit of fun and maybe win 80 quid's worth of stuff, then, by all means, send us the entries. If you go onto our website, there is a section under the community, which is the writing competition. If you have a look on the our Facebook, you'll see the details there. All the terms and conditions as well for that writing competition are on there, as well as the rules and what needs to be in your entry for it to be valid. So yeah, really cool. It's another way that we like to kind of sort of involve the community in what we do.
A bit of fun. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be wicked. Any any big authors out there? Just
Yeah.
feel free to submit.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so the news, like, everybody in AT kind of goes a little bit mad the moment that we get like, I can't even remember what they call it now on the on the community website. Was it engine kill or something?
Something like that. Yeah,
Um,
we hear it
uh,
so little that it's easy
it,
to forget the name.
it used to be like the first Thursday or the first Tuesday of every month, and then we've not had one for donkey's ages. And then
Hmm.
finally, when was it? Like I say, a couple of days ago, they just dropped this thing out of nowhere.
Mm.
That we've got some new weapons coming, which is really cool. And we've kind of we've looked into this. You know what? They've even removed the name of the series of articles from the Warhammer community
There
website.
we
So
go.
that's how infrequent that it is. I'm sure it used to be like Engine Kill or something like that,
Mm.
but it now looks like it's just bundled under the Warhammer Horus Heresy stuff. Um, yeah, I know. Um, but yeah, I think we mentioned it in our articles or a podcast. It kind of, the lines are blurring at the moment. How like the meta
Hmm.
has been really stable, and quite like the idea that they are bringing out these weapons, which kind of, we don't. It would be nice to have more content, but the fact that it is so infrequent means that the meta kind of gets to adapt and shift
Hmm.
and stabilize between events. It's not just like constant catching up, and then something like Leagues of Votan just gets dropped in the middle of it and then throws it all awry, right?
Off skew, yeah.
Um, but yeah, conversion beamers. Didn't see that coming personally.
Yeah, that is it's insane.
I mean, my
The
brain immediately thinks of the Asterius, the Acastus Asterius, and that's disgusting. It's a disgusting
mhm.
chassis. Um, so yeah, like,
Actually
interesting.
terrifying. I mean, they named the article quite aptly, didn't they?
Yeah.
About speed running engine kills or something like that. So I think one of the big things we spoke about is obviously it having in our own conversations the maximal fire trait as well, which I think scared us initially at first that a warhound's weapon could increase from strength 9 to 11 and then maximal fire.
Well, we don't
Um,
know if it's on the Warhound.
but we
The,
don't know whether the warhound profile is actually going to have maximal fire on it, which I kind of hope it doesn't, because unless it's ridiculously expensive, why wouldn't you take it?
yeah, I mean, they've specifically called it out on the Warlord, and
Hmm.
I wonder if that is going to be the thing which differentiates like the two weapon types the most. I think we'll see like an extra dice like we've seen before, or maybe the
Mm,
Reaver and Warhound one will be slightly shorter ranged or something.
yeah.
Um, but I think that the maximal fire trait is going to be massive for the um, for the Warlord, like you say, taking it from that. What did they say in the article? They said is it's from strength
Uh,
9 to 11. Was it 9
for
to
the
11?
Warhound, it was, yes. For the range of their beamer, the conversion beam dissolutor.
Which makes me think then that if that's 9 and 11, like the wording in the actual article says, a particularly bold Princeps can even push their Warlord Titan's conversion beamer extirpator. I
I
hate.
love that. I love I love how corny and kind of trash all the naming conventions have been recently. It's
Yeah.
so ridiculous, but it actually kind of fits.
So you've got the Dissolutor, fine.
Yeah,
That's like the Reaver and the Warhound, and then the Warlord is the Extirpator. Now,
extirpator. Yeah, God,
or Extirpator, but in
extirpator.
this will only mean something to parents of children who are around about the age of 4 in the UK or the US. But whenever I see Extirpator, I just think of this god awful kids YouTube presenter called Blippy, and he did this video singing about excavators. So every time that I like hear extirpator, I just think of that video. It's an extirpator. Anyway, no, I'm not gonna
I'm
like.
so glad. I don't know what the hell you're talking about at all.
No, I'm going to put up I'll probably put up an image or something down the bottom just to really kind of like give the parents PTSD. But it's yeah, the names are rubbish. Anyway, back to what we are talking about. It says they can push their Warlord Titans conversion beamer extirpator further, maxing out their reactors to increase strength by 2 with the maximal fire trait. A shot even stronger than the Warbringer Titan's notorious Bellicosa cannon. Interesting that they say Warbringer Bellicosa cannon because it's the Warbringer and the Warlord is the same.
Mm,
Um, but what they're saying there means that it's even stronger than Strength 12.
yeah, I mean, well, it's going to be there's going to be a strength differential, for the range, right? And then you're going to get that +2, which is going to be essentially at the best range +2. Then you get a +2 from maximal fire. And if the Warhound version is strength 9, the Warlord version is going to be the base strength is going to be higher.
Maybe Strength 10.
Strength 10, which would bring it to 14 at the most optimal ranges.
It's
But
got
would
to
they
come
just
in a
do it?
minimum of 13, in which case they will leave it the same 9 and long range 11, and then maximal fire to make it 13. That might be the safest option for them to do
Mm,
it, because then it would still be stronger. But it's what makes what's interesting about that statement is that they say that you can push to increase it with the maximal fire trait. Now, maximal fire normally isn't a push ability, so maybe that will be a reactor dice, and then potentially as well, you're going to be getting additional heat on a roll of a 1.
I don't know. I think it's a poor wording on the article writer's choice. I
It's
think they didn't
always
intend it as a.
it's always
I
tricky, right? To kind of
Yeah.
like they're not that these things have happened before. I mean, we just have to look at
Mm,
what was it, Void Breaker? Was it Void Breaker, where it was like you get an extra 3 shield hits for every hit, and it's like no, actually, it's only an extra 3 on the top. When the Volkite came out, there was that
exactly.
whole thing, wasn't there?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there will be a push and then the maximal fire trait on top. I'd be very surprised. Um,
So, I mean, the only thing we've got to go on at the moment is the twin conversion beam cannon from the Asterius. Now, I couldn't find an Asterius terminal before I did this, but I think that the weapon stats stayed the same on the
mhm.
Asterius compared to the Acastus. So I got it from the Acastus terminal. I don't think the weapon's any different. I think the only thing that changed with the Asterius was rules for the actual hull,
Mhm.
like the Mechanicum ability to repair and all that kind of stuff. But going on the twin conversion beam cannon as a base, their short range is 24, going up to 48. So anything over 24 inches, if we take this as given as like if we're assuming that the ranges are going to be the same, anything over 24 would be on that 11 inches. 11 inches, 11 strength. Anything under it
Mhm.
would be 9. And then that's dice for strength 9. And then the difference with this is it gets blast 5, sorry, 3 or 5, and it's paired. And the 3 or 5 is that it's a blast 3 inches at short range and blast 5 inches at long range. Now,
Do you think the Titan equivalent is going to be blast?
it's a tricky one. I wonder if the extra strength is the equivalent of increasing the blast because it's only one rather than paired for a start. But I can't imagine
Mm,
that they would do something this strong and make it something you can call shots on.
very true. Yeah.
So I wonder if it will
Mm.
be a
Set
three
blast
at
size.
least a 3 inch blast across the
Mm.
board with the differentiation of strength. Um, but that this is a bit of a game changer with the way that the weapons work. Because is there anything else which changes strength, or has got like a different strength profile at different ranges? What about the iconoclast? Was there anything to do with that? The I
Oh
can't remember off
God.
the top. The
Oh
iconoclast,
no, why?
the grav cannon's got
Yeah, the
two.
grabbing
Like,
hand.
yeah, because it's different, isn't it? But I think it's still the same strength. I think it's just one is a ranged attack, one is a melee attack, and it's got different profiles like rending and stuff at close range compared to.
Yeah.
I think all of the kind of range differentiation is in the traits, but that's me kind of just saying that off the top of my.
I mean, at least there's no like key weapons that you'd see a lot of that we at least can remember there being any damage
Yeah,
changes for range.
yeah. So looking at the grav imploder, the strength stays the same. It's
Yeah.
just long range traits versus short range traits. So I guess we'll see a
Mm.
9/11 with some asterisks um on the weapon card. Um,
Mhm.
what do you think dice wise we're going to be coming in? Because that is the dice for blast at the moment on
That's
the
insane.
on the
That's
Asterius.
so good, isn't it?
I can't imagine it being a one dice,
No.
even at the Warhound level.
Oh, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but there are 2 barrels. Is it gonna be a 2 dicer on
That
the
is
Warhound?
I think for the vast majority of weapons, right, that seems to be the golden rule is how many barrels does it
Pretty
got?
Yeah, I mean, what is the macro Gatler has, like, what, 6 barrels or something, right? So
Plasma blast gun's got 2 cells, and then on the Sun Fury, it's got 4 cells. Yeah,
mhm,
um, yeah. I wonder if it will be. What do they normally do? Because they normally add a bit of increase in strength between the sides,
mm,
and maybe an extra dice. So maybe we'll see like dice 2, dice 3 between the two, and I don't think we'll see a difference in strength. Something in me thinks that it will be the Warlord will still be 9/11, but the maximal fire will allow you to push it up to 13. Chuck that in an extergamus. And
yeah,
then if assuming it's under 5 dice, which it will be for like the one heat, that's then strength 15, um, which is then nuking a Castus or Asterius on a 2+,
yeah,
straight off the board.
that's grim.
what I wonder is this going to make Asterius and Betharians a bit more palatable on the
I'd
board,
say so. Yeah, I'd say so.
because they're still like the
Um,
pariahs, aren't they?
uh, I think they've become a little bit more accepted recently. Um, but they're just annoying and not fun to deal with. That being said, are people? I mean, I feel like people are going to be bringing these if they are as good as they seem to be, um, no matter what. Anyway, so I can see them. I can see them having an effect on those nights for sure. Um, I don't think many people were bringing many of or any of them anyway, just because of the social faux pas associated with it. But um, yeah, I think that could have an effect. I don't think that was the intention of the weapon, but I can see it having an effect. And honestly, I mean, it makes the graviton ruinator look like a waste of points. I mean, these could replace your volcano cannon as the long range weapon, right?
It'll all come down to whether or not these things require a push, like an automatic push.
Mm,
Because you look at the Warhound version of it at the moment. If it is anything like the Asterius's, if you're adding a blast and it's 2 dice and it's strength 9, then immediately we're talking plasma blast gun kind of territory.
hmm
And do we have a contender here for a replacement, or rather a challenger to the plasma blast gun? And
hmm
ultimately, that'll come down to how much it is points wise. Um, if it is, I think it's going to be more expensive than a plasma blast gun.
mm.
Um, what's a plasma blast gun?
Even
35 points.
yeah,
No.
it's not cheap. It's
So
not
that
cheap
this
at all.
this if it's got blast, and if it's strength 9, and ultimately if it's depending on what its accuracy penalty has, maybe it'll have a -1 as well. Um, but you know, surely this has to be kind of in the 40-point plus kind of territory on a warhound. But like you
Yeah,
say, if it is 48-inch range, then long range warhounds become possible. So maybe you run
extremely
one of
good.
these, and the other side you run kind of like a graviton, and then you've got like your long range snipery kind of setup for dealing with knights. Um,
And
it's
also, they're not even that bad against shielded targets or anything like that. Just fired off. If they are 2 dice blast, so possibly 4 hits on.
Yeah,
It's not like yeah. Oh,
yeah. The thing that excites me is the Reaver version of it, because the plasma is the one weapon that the Warhound has that the Reaver can't mount,
hmm
on its top hat at the moment. I think that's right. Can't think
yeah.
of any
You
others
can't.
off the top of my head. Other than Ursus claws and shock lances,
Yeah, that's
those kind of things. Um, but again, depending on whether or not this is a push ability, this to me screams an automatic inclusion for like a rifleman Reaver,
oh yeah.
or like something to supplement a rifleman Reaver, because that's a big old push. And what would you rather have? Something that's potentially strength 11 on your top hat and your Venator mana pull, or would you rather have like the laser blaster, for instance?
Right. Yeah. There's no question really, apart from points.
Yeah,
You start entering the territory where you have to actively think about putting in shield strippers because these are possibly just very good.
yeah.
Um,
So,
it's
so,
gonna
so
really.
what's your prediction then? What are you gonna predict at this point? We don't know yet. There's been no more teased. Hopefully, it's going to come in the next couple of weeks. But what do you think?
I think they'll be either equal to the blast gun or the most expensive Warhound weapon option available. Um, if they do have to push and then have the option for maximal fire, then they become a little bit scary
Risk versus reward, though, more so
on the
than maybe
Warhound. Very
other
true.
weapons.
And that's the other thing as well, is that if it doesn't make you just push before firing on a Warhound, even if you're not getting the maximal fire trait, that really kind of that's a scary game to be playing. Um, I think they're going to be expensive. I think the one on the Warlord is going to be good, like really good. Um, but yeah, it's really hard to tell at the moment, isn't it? Without um, with just some very vague community post about
Yeah.
abilities and question marks next to verbiage, whether they actually
Well,
intended it or.
this here's my prediction, and I'm making this up on the spot. I've not thought about this anymore.
Hmm.
I think that we're going to see the Warhound and the Reaver. I reckon is going to be 40 points,
Hmm.
and the Warlord I think is going to come in at 60. Um,
That's a
maybe
safe.
maybe 55, same as a Bellicosa, but I think you get to 60 plus, you're kind of rivaling the sort of weapons on um uh, a War Master at that point. In fact, what is it on a
Hmm.
War Master? He says War Master, War Master,
Hmm. War Master.
War Master. So, oh, it's 70 points for the suzerain. So yeah,
Okay.
maybe 60. Um, I think your Warhound. I wouldn't be surprised if that is like 24, like 32 or 24, something like that. Maybe slightly shorter ranged.
Hmm.
2 dice, strength 9, and strength 11 at long range. Blast 3 inches. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be my prediction for this. And then for the extirpator, we'll go 24, 48, dice 3, 3 inch blast still.
Hmm.
I think
Really?
maybe they'll do the same with the 3 inch, 5 inch, but I think
I reckon it'll be a flat 5 inch.
it's I can't see them being identical to the Asterius, which is why
Mm.
like I think that they will be um have the strength buff instead of the blast buff. Um but yeah, I don't think the thing is if blast isn't on it, um I don't know if that's better or worse for the weapon. I think if you had something which was like 3 dice, strength 15, which could target, then that's a hell of a sniping weapon. Um, so I think that my gut says they're going to keep the blast in there just
Yeah,
for the random
that's
re-roll of the
that would be
location.
scary. That would be scary to have it without blast.
Yeah.
Um, that would push it into, you know, not don't want to say the cursed word, but broken territory.
The
I
the
feel.
oth- the other thing we have to consider as well, of course, is that the Asterius is on a knight chassis with a
Hmm.
knight's reactor, and it's got 2 of them to fire. So
Mm,
maybe the Titans should be more disgusting than that. But I already think that they're disgusting on an Asterius. Never mind on a if it was more powerful on a Titan.
that's the worry.
So yeah, we shall see. I think
Mm,
the thing about them is as well. I think more than any that have been released recently, they are sexy looking weapons. Like I
oh yeah.
really like the Extirpator. I think that looks amazing. Like, and I kind of want loads. I think I want 3 or 4 across all of my
Say hello to
legios.
my Tritonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and the Warhound version just looks meaty, like really
Hmm.
meaty. More like it's probably what, like twice the width of a normal Warhound weapon.
Yeah, oh definitely. I mean, you can see it next to it on the slideshow, and it's wider than its head. I mean, it's taller than its actual head, and a
Yeah,
lot of the front of its torso. It's a beefy gun.
yeah.
Um, wait until you see the Asteus Warhound with 2 of them. sat at the back until it blows up, just firing away.
I mean,
I
that's the
mean,
thing, isn't it? I mean, will we see that? Somebody will run it.
suddenly does coolant, what was it, the coolant reactor or something like that, the placeable stratagem that helps you bleed heat
And is it
might
plasma
actually become a thing.
plasmatic binders? Is that the other one, which allows you to vent heat on a
Yeah,
2+ or something? I can't remember. I never
and
take it.
corruption as well, frozen soul or something like that as well. I'm pretty sure has bonuses for
Yeah.
getting heat back. So,
I think the push ability is the question mark here. It
mm,
I feel like a weapon like this on a Warhound probably should push, but then you've got the benchmark of the plasma, which is strong and doesn't have a push and is maximal fire.
true.
So it's whether or not this will be strong but with a push on the lower
Hmm.
engines, and on the bigger engines it will be maximal fire instead of the push, or like I said, hinted at earlier, who knows? Maybe maximal fire will be a push on its own, and then you get additional heat on top.
Yeah,
Might just be poor wording, but I guess we'll see. Um, but all I can say is that I want them.
yeah,
Like
same.
they they look great, and like I say, I think that this is good news for night players in the respect that, sorry, not night players, but people who want to put a casters back. It's not good news for night
Not good
players.
news for night players at all.
It seems like everything that Games Workshop's releasing at the moment is stuff designed to hurt knights quite considerably, because this will bypass the shields on most knights.
Hmm.
So
You get them when they, get them from far away.
yeah, and like I say, if you are in an extergamus maniple with one of these, then you're going to be 2+ critting a Porphy. So
Grim.
yeah, it is pretty grim.
Mm.
Um,
Well, Games Workshop, if you want us to provide a in-depth review of the miniatures, maybe get them featured on a bat rep,
how how close to the mark were we on this one? Let's see.
yeah.
I've tried to I've tried to guess. I remember when I was trying to guess like the price of how much the direwolf was going to be,
Hmm.
and every time I think it's going to be like excessive, it comes in as reasonable, and it's like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. So maybe I'm just, I wonder if it might be a bit more tamed back than what um we're saying. But
What's the graviton cost again? Do you remember?
was it 20 points? I think.
No, no, cost price wise in
Oh,
real
like
life.
no, no, it's like it's sort of 16 quid or something for the
Yeah,
warlords, 12 quid for
yeah.
the
I don't think
warhound.
these will be too bad at all.
Um, Yeah, no, I mean, I was just using the price as an example for when I was trying to work out. Games Workshop always surprises you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's almost futile to kind of try and guess what these things are, because
Mm.
they'll always be a surprise. There'll be something in there which we didn't think of. But yeah, really interesting. But there's
Mm.
one thing about this release which has like got you like a dog on heat, and that's a little image which was quickly redacted, which I personally think that you and a few other people are reading into or seeing things that they want to see. But let's talk about that Warhound base image.
We can dream. All right, we're allowed to dream.
What does this mean for you, Johnny?
If Epic returns, I will be extremely happy. Um, yeah, there have been a lot of hints recently, haven't there?
So you think that
About
base, you think that base is intentional? See, when I saw that, I thought that's a prototype base put on a Warhound.
why would they put they've had this game out how long now? Why would they just find a warhound with a prototype base?
Well, I mean, like, they have loads of these in stock, right? And they have the studio ones, and if they've magnetized the arms, then they just take the arm off and put another one on for the photos.
Let's be real. This looks like a new paint job, right? I've not seen like this crispy level of painting on any of their titans. Like they've really gone ham on this one.
The Reaver in particular in that article, it looks really nice, and yeah, I think I'll go with you with that to an extent. It
they are 100% like gearing up for something. Like it's just it's the perfect time, right? You've got Horus Heresy has just kicked off. People are like getting back into the lore, and the books are ending. I mean, I'm a good way through the End of the Death, volume 1 at the moment, which ooh, it's getting good. Um, it's the perfect time, right? I think it will be 30k epic to begin with. I think it makes sense given that for that it would come in like its own box, kind of like the old Titanicus starter set, right? And they only have to create Space Marine sculpts. You know what I mean? Maybe like the odd character differential, but to start with, Space Marine sculpts, mini Space Marine tanks. I mean, all they have to do really is shrink down the models that they've got in their 3D systems and scrub out some of the finer details. It makes business sense for them to test the water with like a 30k version, and then we'll hopefully move to 40k.
The one thing that I will say, which is the only part of doubt in my mind, which was when I say maybe this was like a prototype base, is the fact that that is obviously a molded base. Like you can see that it's completely flat, but there's a recessed part at the back, in the front section where the base kind of cuts away and goes into the base.
Hmm.
So, like you say, either this has been purposefully built um, by them for a reason. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me why they would change the base size and base depth for Epic compared
It
to
does.
why?
Think about it. If you've got base heights that are almost the height of your infantry,
Okay, fine, yeah.
it's gonna look hella dumb. Trust me, I've 3D printed like some epic bits for Tyrannus before, and it looks stupid on the normal GW size base. Is to make them look like they would fit in with the scale. I
And
think it
if
needs to
you
have a shrinking.
if you think about games like Flames of War as well, that sort of width is much more in keeping with the base size of the Flames of War
Hmm.
bases, and again a bit more like Epic. But at the worst case, could this be a range of GW base toppers or custom bases for Adeptus Titanicus? Like at the worst, maybe that is a hint of that. At the best, this is them accidentally. I say accidentally. They don't do anything by accident,
Nothing
right?
they do. If
Um,
if you think that any leaks that have ever come out are anything but planted by GW,
and it serves the
they know what they're
purpose.
doing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Very quickly you could see what is that base all about coming up on the post, and then sure
Hmm.
enough, that image got changed and it got kind of like made invisible.
The fact that they removed it itself, I think, makes it seem a little bit more important than just a Titanicus base. The
There's other,
verbiage
yeah.
as well.
I want to believe on this, and I must admit,
Mhm,
there's been a few too many kind of subtle hints. Now, there was an article the other day about 40 years of the Warlord Titan. It also happens that isn't this Games Workshop's technically its 40th year?
mhm,
Um, and there was a big old article about how kind of like they've redone the Warhound. There was a video which Warlord, and then there's a video which went with it,
mhm.
and yeah, like that got me thinking. You're now showing lots of like old style epic models, trying to kind of like build
Mhm.
people's nostalgia up for that a little bit.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
And a lot of the recent like nods to the event, they've used the word epic a good amount. They normally will say, big, huge, blah blah blah. It does feel a little bit more forced this time round. I don't know whether I'm just, always sunny. Charlie's got the big sheets of paper up, and I'm drawing the lines between the two and
Do I need to use
going crazy.
that image
Yes,
that I used in the last one
right
again?
now.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
do it again.
I,
Yeah.
I you have to kind of keep. I don't know if we're reading too much into it, right? But there were the last and that 40 years of the Wall of Titan thing. The last
Mm,
sentence in it before all of the caveats was, and while epic scale Warhammer is in abeyance, the current edition of Adeptus Titanicus has brought many more god engines out to play.
abeyance.
Abeyance, which if you haven't looked it up on the internet, basically means in a state of temporary hold or suspension.
I
Read into
mean,
that what you want.
like we said, no word they. Why would you use the word abeyance? I know they do like to use big words, quote unquote, to hype stuff up and kind of fit it into the kind of high gothic lore of what they're trying to, you know, promote. Um, come on, if
I,
that's
I yeah, I mean, you wouldn't say. And while epic scale Warhammer is currently on hold, because then people would be like,
mm,
"Sorry, what?" Like, always, abeyance is a word that some people wouldn't necessarily know what it is off the top of their head.
um, I also think maybe it is a if I'm being a devil's advocate here, maybe it is because they're talking about epic. It is a way to say they don't want to say like, and while that's been scrapped and it's off the shelf and it's never going to happen again, they don't want to put that into writing either. Maybe that's why they use that word, but like coupled with everything else, um, if it's then just like a Primaris lieutenant, I will cry.
Lieutenant, come on, dude, we're English.
Lieutenant, sorry, lieutenant. There we go. Um, yeah, come on. It's. I mean, I'd be interested to see what other people think about it. A lot of people seem pretty convinced that something's happening.
I I I I would love to see what they can do at this scale with the quote unquote epic because I never really particularly liked the old epic models. Like they were just too small. I quite like
Hmm.
I got into my Flames of War at 15 mil, right? This would kind of sit in that kind of halfway 8 to 10 mil kind of range. I don't know what is it. Is it officially 8 mil? Have they ever said what it is officially? 80, 8, 10, somewhere in that region, isn't it?
I like looking at it at a 6 mil lens because it makes everything just a little bit bigger and cooler. Um,
But 6
but
mil was original Epic, wasn't it? So
well,
that's why,
exactly.
yeah, you put the original stuff on there, and it does make everything look bigger. But then you have to kind of like I actually worked out, how big is a Warhound Titan? Well, it's only actually the size of a house, so it's about the size of a two-story house,
Hmm.
which isn't colossal. It's not
Huge.
like the
No.
old law made you kind of think that they are. They're still
Hmm.
obviously, if you saw one of those things coming down the road, you would still probably shit your pants.
Hmm.
You definitely would.
You
Um,
definitely would. Yeah.
but they're not as colossal as they've done before, or they've hinted at before. And the other thing as
Mm.
well is that you've got to. I think it kind of like that 8 to 10 mil. They can really kind of allow for true scale
Hmm.
miniatures. So you have like essentially 6 millimeter guardsmen, 8 millimeter um,
Marines.
Astartes,
Hmm.
9 millimeter Custodes. Like obviously not in scale, but like in height. So there is an obvious kind of. I
Hmm.
think it would be amazing because you don't really see that on games of 40k where all of the models essentially are in that 32 millimeter, and Primaris are slightly bigger than guardsmen, but guardsmen are supposed to be like 6 foot, and Space Marines are supposed to be, what, upper sevens, eight.
Yeah.
Probably going to be shouted at, but tall. They're tall.
Really, really big. Yeah.
Um, and you don't really get that, and that's why so many people kind of do the whole true scale marine conversions and 3D printed stuff. Um,
Hmm.
but actually seeing Epic, if you were running a Solar Auxilia, if you want to do like Siege of Terror, you had some Solar Auxilia and you had some um,
Be
Space
so
Marine
sick.
Legions and having the difference in size between the models, I think it would be really good. Um,
The quality of board will be insane at that scale as well. Like the boards you could make would look sick. They'd look awesome. Like really, really cool. You could make the Siege of Terror at at that scale, and
yeah,
maybe again that's why they're doing it at the height of, or the conclusion of what is essentially the Horus Heresy storyline. If they were going to release anything more that is, um, like 30K adjacent, they're gonna do it before the book series finishes,
you'd think so, wouldn't you?
right?
They haven't announced yet, have they? End and the Death Part Two, but I would be
No.
surprised if it's not this year, like September time, something like that.
Hmm.
Um,
I really hope so because I'm running out of this book and I need more.
yeah, I'm listening to it on Audible at the moment. I'm an hour
Yeah.
and a half away from the end, so yeah. But yeah,
God, it's good, isn't it?
I guess the
Oh,
big
so
question
good.
is are Maximal Fire going to do Epic if they release Epic?
Yes, and if you're not, I will do it on my own and play it on my own,
No,
against myself.
yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% in agreement here, and I think as well, like this can only really be a good thing for AT as well,
Hmm.
because if as long as they give you options for both and they support it and still continue to treat it as two different games, then it can only be a good thing for AT because
Hmm.
it will push for more plastic releases of certain Titan classes. Um, and the big thing would be that it probably wouldn't be the specialist games department. It would be in with the rest of the main studio guys.
Hmm.
You'd hope, but I really hope that they do continue to support AT because AT fills a slot which isn't filled by Epic, and not every
Hmm.
AT person will want to play Epic. Um,
It's
you
very
know,
true.
AT's an amazing skirmish game. It's not really a large scale war game, which Epic is probably more geared towards. But we'll see. I guess I really hope
Mm.
that they do continue. I hope that this is a boost as well as like a different avenue for people to use the Titans. Like I've got all that stuff behind me, right? I would love to be able to roll a lot of that out with Epic because we're already halfway ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay, our bases might be the wrong sizes, but I can't imagine that making a huge difference in a
By the
game.
looks of it, they're the same. They're the same size as in width. It's just the height. Aesthetically, you're not gonna have to rebase your Titans unless you really want to.
Mm.
Which I probably maybe would. Um, yeah, it would just be it'd be awesome. I think it definitely, if it exists, it will be 30K. Purely from the fact that, like I said before, with the repeat sculpts and the Space Marines, just doing them all, for each side of the boxes, handy. Because then again, you get the Horus Heresy situation where people were picking up boxes and just using all the models in the box to make one army as opposed to having two armies in the box.
So so
But
so more speculation then. If
okay,
they drop a box, what do you think is
yes,
going to be in that box? Because my personal thought is it's not going to be um, Imperial Fists versus Sons of Horus because they've done that
right,
with Heresy.
they've done that.
So I'm wondering Death Guard versus White Scars?
I was just thinking that. Um,
Because that way, I think
ah,
you could
are
throw in
they?
some really cool mechanics, right? I think we'll probably see a box set come with two War Hound Titans.
I don't think they'll be Titans.
I would be very surprised if they wouldn't, because Epic is all about it, and the Warhound comes on two of them on one sprue. So it's an easy thing to chuck in when everything else is going to be quite
Okay,
small.
I'll take that.
So
Yeah.
so two Warhound Titans, and then you'd have a ton of jet bikes in there.
Hmm.
You'd have maybe kind of like some um Spartans,
Dreadnoughts. Yeah.
maybe some dreadnoughts and some Sicarians,
Mm,
and then just infantry. And the idea being, like, the box set being the White Scars, jet bikes, and a Warhound of, let's say, Gryphonicus. Why not?
yeah,
Or Ignatum. It'll be one of those two.
yeah,
On one side of the box, and on the other side, it'll be Mortis, and it will be Death Guards, Spartans, and Terminators, and all of that kind of stuff.
yeah, 100%.
That's my kind of guess.
Another nod to it being 30k as well is the fact that the Mortis Warhound that they've shown is in 30k colors. It is not corrupted or scarred with the 10,000 years of post heresy.
If this has got anything to do with Epic,
If this has got anything to do with Epic, I am I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in my bones. I will be up waiting for that reveal
yeah.
with bated breath and excitement. Um, yeah, I
If
think it's
it's
going to be there.
So, do you think it'll drop at Adepticon, or do you think it'll drop at Fest? If it drops at all,
I think they will. Hmm, it's going to be Adepticon, right?
isn't Fest? That's when they're celebrating the 40 years, isn't it?
Yeah, but
But then they've also,
Adepticon is huge. Like it's
yeah,
massive,
and aren't they also? Isn't there rumors about 10th edition 40k,
which is where I think for the 40th anniversary
40k?
of Warhammer of 40k, they will go. Here's 10th edition. Um, I'm still not convinced that uh the gene or the Tyrannid and Terminator image are to do with a new box edition, but if they're gonna do it, it's gonna be at Warhammer Fest, right? It's gonna be on
Yeah,
home ground or relatively home ground in Manchester, and it's gonna be, on the actual anniversary. And I think this will be the big epic reveal. This upcoming one.
let's see. I guess
I'm gonna look
we
like such
can.
a knob in a week and a bit
Oh,
after,
yeah. I mean,
you
at the end
know.
of the day, it's all speculation, right? And these things are only as good as they are present. So,
Yeah.
like, if you're watching it now, it makes sense. But if you're watching it in 6 months' time, it's
Mhm.
nonsense. But
If
I
we
would love
predicted it
to.
right, though.
Well, yeah, it'd be interesting to look back on it. Maybe we'll do an
Yeah.
episode in the future, which was, how much did we get right? How much did we get
Mhm.
completely wrong? But um, but yeah. Um, any kind of final thoughts?
Mm, I really, really need this epic box. I'm just gonna return to that again. Um, yeah, God, please, please make this exist. Just do it, GW.
Do,
Do it.
do we have to follow the tabletop standard route of going into epic bat reps as well then?
Mm.
Although they
I
were
think
there
it'll be.
first, weren't they?
Yeah, but it's different, right? It's gonna be the rules are gonna be so different to old epic, no doubt about it. It's gonna be a whole new system, more so than the change from first
Yeah.
to second edition of Horus Heresy. Um, yeah, damn, it's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to
Terminals?
make. No, oh,
No, it'd be a bit more. I can see them being a bit more like knights, working like
mm,
night terminals. So each kind of squadron would have,
mm.
or each company, or however big regiment, like regiment, however big they kind of scale it, might be like knights, whereby they have pips, and you take off bases when they go off the end of the track, but otherwise don't have any of the other macro managing of like that the warlords, or the titans.
I think there'll be no uh terminals at all. I think it will be wounds based.
Well, let's hope
Um,
on some of the bigger stuff that they still include an AT terminal in the box.
they won't. They won't. They won't. They're releasing their new game. They're not gonna throw in something to. But I think there's a enough of a community about where if people were like, oh, I've got this Titan. or these loads of Titans from Epic, but I'd quite like to just do like a Titan only battle of Epic. I was like, oh, we'll just play Titanicus then, right? You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd be interested to see what the audience thinks because I just want the theories. I need to indulge in them at like 1 a.m. tonight
Yeah.
while I'm waiting for any more news on it.
Let us know what you're thinking in the comments.
Mm.
Do you think the same? Or do you think that we're reading too much into it, or do you have any other kind of different ideas? Especially kind of interested to see what do you think of the conversion beamer? Do you like it? You excited for it, or do you think it's an unnecessary addition to the game? Yeah, I guess we'll do another one of these reactor side chats next time that there is something a bit more to talk about.
Hopefully, it'll be after Adepticon.
Maybe, which is
Maybe.
next week.
Yep.
Let's try and get this video out quickly.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Like I say, tell us what you think about this. Do you like hearing us waffle about conspiracy theories?
Mhm.
Or yeah, what do you want to see in kind of like future episodes? So yeah, we need a new sign off for this. Go big, go
Mm,
loud, go epic.
no, no, that's no,
We should
no.
have thought about this in advance, shouldn't
We
we?
should have probably thought about this beforehand. Like and subscribe. There we go.
Yeah.
There's one. Or do whatever you have to do on any of the podcast things that you listen to us on. And well, we'll stick with the classic for now. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? We could just say cheerio.
Yeah. Or you
Right.
know what? Yeah. This is too casual for a sign off.
Yeah. It's not a podcast. So thanks for
No,
watching,
we just
guys.
can. Yeah.
We'll see you
Stick
again
around
next time.
and go
Uh,
maximal.
you had to say it, didn't you? See you later, guys. Good night.
Bye bye.